When Roman, Igor, Michael, and Victor decided to explore the old abandoned circus on the outskirts of their hometown, none of them expected it to become the most terrifying event of their lives. The Meridian Circus, which had closed down many years ago, was shrouded in mysteries and legends. It was said that its inhabitants had disappeared under mysterious circumstances, and that the circus was cursed. The buildings were overgrown with grass, and the tents and attractions, covered in dust and cobwebs, looked particularly ominous in the moonlight. The friends approached the massive gates, adorned with faded images of clowns and animals. Roman, the bravest of the group, was the first to open the rusty gate, and they entered inside. The atmosphere was oppressive, the air filled with a stagnant smell of old dust and decay. First, they headed to the large main arena where the performers had once entertained. The enormous tattered tent loomed over them, its fabric rustling in the light breeze. Everything looked frozen in time. Its scattered props, broken chairs, and even a few toys seemed lost amidst the chaos. When Roman turned on his flashlight, its beam fell on an old clown costume hanging on a wooden mannequin in the corner. Suddenly they heard faint laughter echoing from the darkness. Michael grabbed Josh's arm, nervously smiling. "Is someone trying to scare us? Very funny." However, when the laughter repeated and then turned into a sinister rasp, the guys realized that something was wrong. They began to slowly retreat to the exit but noticed that the tent seemed to close in, blocking their way. Victor suggested heading backstage, hoping to find another way out. The narrow corridor was even gloomier, its walls covered with ancient posters featuring the faces of performers. However, the deeper they went, the more pronounced the strange sounds became whispers, the creaking of footsteps, and occasionally a faint growl. In one of the rooms, they found an old dressing table with dried-up makeup and a shattered mirror. When Roman illuminated the room, they saw the reflection of a person in a clown costume standing behind them. He held a club in his hands, and his face was hidden under a grotesque mask. The friends turned around in horror, but there was no one there. They tried to run, but the corridor they had come through had disappeared. Now there were only doors leading into the unknown. They chose one and found themselves in a room of distorted mirrors, their reflections warped into monstrous images. Among this labyrinth of mirrors, they saw a figure pursuing them. It was the same clown, but now his face appeared mutilated and covered in blood. He began to approach, and with each step, his malevolent laughter grew louder. Suddenly, Roman felt a hand grab his shoulder. He turned and saw Michael, but his face was white as chalk, his eyes empty and lifeless. Michael raised his hand, and they saw his fingers twisted into strange claws. Roman screamed, stepping back. The clown was now very close, his eyes burning with hatred. Victor found a door and, opening it, discovered they were back in the arena. But now it had a sinister circus setting, dead performers hanging from trapezes, animal bones scattered on the ground. They ran towards the exit, but at that moment, the arena filled with ghostly figures. They surrounded the friends, and the clown, laughing, lunged at Roman, grabbing him by the throat. Victor and Josh tried to fend him off, but the ghosts pulled them in different directions. Suddenly, lights flashed on in the arena, and the ghosts began to applaud. The clown released Roman and climbed onto an impromptu stage. He announced, "Ladies and gentlemen, the show begins," and sinister laughter echoed. Michael, bound and mutilated, was brought onto the stage. The clown began his horrifying tricks, torturing him before the entire audience of ghosts. Josh and Victor were forced to watch their friend suffer, unable to help him. Each of them felt the cold hands of the ghosts holding them in place. When the clown finished his cruel act, he turned to Josh and Victor. "Now it's your turn," he said, and the ghosts dragged them onto the stage. First, they tortured Josh, making him relive his worst fears. His screams echoed through the empty arena, and the clown savored every moment. Victor was the last one left. His terror was so overwhelming that he could barely breathe. The clown approached him, his face in the shadows, his eyes burning with hatred. "You are the last to join our eternal show," he said, raising his club. At that moment, Roman, realizing he had to do something to save his friends, mustered his courage and grabbed one of the clubs scattered on the stage. He charged at the clown with a shout, distracting the monster. The clown, surprised by this act, released Victor and turned to Roman. Roman shouted for his friends to run while he distracted the clown. Josh and Victor, gathering their last strength, broke free from the grip of the ghosts and ran towards the exit. Michael, injured, crawled after them, hoping for salvation. Roman and the clown struggled on the stage, and at some point Roman managed to hit the clown on the head, knocking him down. He knew he had little time and ran towards the exit, where his friends were already waiting. They all dashed out of the arena and headed for the gates. Behind them, they heard sinister laughter and approaching footsteps. Roman knew they had to lock the gates to stop their pursuers. As the last of the friends dashed outside, Roman, with great effort, closed the gates and jammed them with an old stick found on the ground. They stopped at a safe distance, breathing heavily and looking back at the ominous circus. Michael was injured but alive. The friends knew they had escaped something truly horrifying. They vowed never to return to that cursed place and to warn the other residents about its danger. In the morning, the locals found the old circus on the outskirts of the town with its gates closed. Inside, there was no one, just old costumes and toys. There were no traces of the friends, only a chilling cold and the echo of sinister laughter that sometimes could be heard among the ruins. Since then, people have avoided this place, knowing it was cursed. The legends of the Meridian Circus only grew stronger, and no one dared to explore its dark corners anymore. The friends, despite the horror they experienced, were grateful they had survived and warned others about this dreadful place.